So good morning and thank you for joining us here today. I'm Nim Kidd, the Chief of the Division of Emergency Management, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2012 Hurricane Season Showcase and Exercise. There have been a lot of people that worked really hard to put this together. Richard, Susanna, Lauren, Scott, Mike, the TDEM team, thank you for doing that. And if you would help me join them with a round of applause. Thank you to the working press that's out here with us today. We need your help in getting our message out when we talk about our objectives for this part of the exercise. And thank you to all the state agencies, Salvation Army, Red Cross, Siddons Fire Equipment, all the private support that's been out here and the local government support. We really appreciate all that you do for us. I'd also be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank our Emergency Management Director for the state of Texas, our Commander-in-Chief, Governor Perry. Governor, thank you for all that you do to support this. I know you don't like me when I do this. I know you don't like it when I do this, but I'm going to, so I figure at the beginning of hurricane season, you don't fire me too fast. But it's been your vision and your leadership that have put this together over the last years, and we really appreciate that, and you make my job easy. Because a lot of emergency managers work for mayors and judges that just don't get it. And your support, the guidance, the leadership, your guiding hand, sometimes the heavy hand, and I appreciate that, has been instrumental in putting this together. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving us the ability to go out and have Texans take care of Texans. He's moving me forward. Okay, we have 6 missions that we're trying to do here today. And the first is to increase public awareness for hurricane season. If you're watching or listening to any of the news, everybody's talking about National Donut Day. Hey, it's National Hurricane Season Day. We need to really remember that today is the beginning of hurricane season. We're here to identify and refine the catalog of various agency capabilities and assets. The resources, the people, and the technology change over time, and we've got to stay fresh on it every day. We've got to test and exercise our equipment and personnel mobilization, how we get people here, how we make sure that they're here, our check-ins to know that we're accurately where we're supposed to be. We have to improve our resource and interagency familiarization. We never get enough time to walk from one state agency to the next to see if there's a better way of doing business than we've seen, so we've got to keep doing this to make sure that we can. And finally, we need to keep identifying utilization space requirements for base camps. As you can see, this stuff takes up a lot of space, and it is but a sliver of what we do. So we need a lot of space to make that happen. Quite an array out here, again, only a piece. And with that, I'd like to hand it off to my boss, Emergency Management Director for Texas, Governor Perry.
Jim, thank you very much. And let me just kind of reiterate what the chief was making reference to, is that all of you men and women who make this possible. I can't tell you how proud I am to get to work with professionals, whether it's individuals that wear the guard uniform, and I'm going to talk about those 130 that are in my background in a moment, or it's one of the new outfits like the Texas A&M Veterinary Medicine facility that they've just put together to be out in the field taking care of people's livestock and animals. I mean, what we have found over the last decade is that there were a lot of needs that weren't being taken care of. And your predecessor, Jack Colley, and yourself, and working with all of these men and women, as we were standing and talking to whether it's an EMS operator right here in Austin, Texas, those five ambulances and EMS vessels that are out there to make fast response, and their coordination with what's going on in the state of Texas. I mean, it is a fascinating operation, if you will. And again, I want to join them in saying to the media, thank you for being here, partly so you can see all of this and to understand just the level of professionalism that the state of Texas, from the local level all the way up to our statewide agencies, have access to, and the professional men and women that operate all of these very, very technical pieces of equipment. Because what they're about is saving people's lives. They're about protecting property. And that's what they do quietly, generally. But they are amazingly capable. And I've just talked about the government side of it. And I haven't even mentioned this expansive private sector effort that we have, whether it's the Baptist Child and Family Services. I mean, the list goes on and on. Our private sector partners that come in, HEB and Walmart, to name a couple of the big names, if you will. But it's exercises like this that allow us to be able to handle what is going to get thrown in our path, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it may be a man-made disaster. I mean, the idea that how you prepare for a space shuttle falling out of the sky and dealing with that massive event over in East Texas, or whether it's being prepared for something as unique as a barge hitting a major thoroughfare and knocking that causeway between South Padre Island and Port Isabel, I mean, the Port Isabella Causeway. I mean, those are things that, frankly, you don't prepare for specifically, but you do prepare for it by all of these exercises and the coordination together. And so on behalf of some 24+ million people that call Texas home, I wanted to come out here today to say thank you. Thanks to all of you, whether it's those of you in the media that are helping to get this story out about the preparation as we go into hurricane season, but in particular to the men and women that wear various uniforms and our private sector partners. As this hurricane season gets started, it is fitting for us to talk about the preparation, and also to let Texans know just how expansive the effort is for us to keep our citizens safe. We're Texans, and this is what we do. We practice every day to be even more competitive and be better at what we're trained to do. We prepare for the worst, and we hope and pray for the best. That's always been the way we do business, and it's served us well over the course of the years. And we're blessed to be coming off a relatively quiet hurricane season, and the projections are that this is going to be an average season. But the fact is, it's not if we're ever going to have another hurricane, it's going to be when we're going to have that hurricane. And they're projecting between 9 and 15 hurricanes during the season, but it only takes one. It only takes one of those major Category 4 or 5 storms to come in and do massive amounts of damage and put our citizens in jeopardy. So that's why we owe it to those who are in harm's way to share with them the preparation that the states and the federal government and the local governments have made, but also for them to be thinking about the most important individual in emergency preparation is the individual. Whether it's getting a packet together of life-saving goods, water, and food, and flashlights, and the things that you're going to need when the power and the other resources and utilities fail. It's about being prepared with an evacuation plan ahead of time. Think it through. Know where you're going. Know where you're going to try to meet your loved ones if that's part of your evacuation plan. So our first responders, our local elected officials, our Texas military forces, all of these state agencies, they practice and think through this on a daily basis. I said I wanted to mention that aircraft standing behind us back there. Colonel Duke, I don't know if you drove it in or not, but what General Newby and the men and women of the Texas Air National Guard, having the capacity and having the capability to keep those aircraft in the state of Texas is so important. We've talked about this on a number of occasions before, but General, I want to say to you and your colleagues, thank you for the work that you're doing, and our congressional delegation for keeping these aircraft in the state of Texas. It's not done yet, but hopefully wisdom will prevail here from the standpoint of you saw some incredible pieces of equipment that we did not have a decade ago. Hospital beds that we did not have available. Mobile hospital facilities, if you will, to be able to go in and either stage before a major event or to bring in as soon as you can after, per se, a hurricane has moved out of a particular area. But having the ability to move patients and ambulatory individuals very quickly can only be done by those aircraft. and having them right here in the state of Texas, which is where the vast majority of those natural disasters of very broad impact, like a hurricane, are going to be. So I don't like to miss a chance to send a message to Washington, D.C. that not only does Texas know how to do this right, if they will assist us and make sure that we have equipment like those C-130s behind me, we'll be able to do it and do it in a very effective way. Let me just wrap up by saying again to Chief Kidd and through you to all of the people that work with you, thanks for your service. And to the citizens of this state, there's a website that they can actually go to. It's Texas Prepares. One word, texasprepares.org. texasprepares.org. You can learn more about preparing for storms. I can promise you the professionals in this audience, and as Chief said, this is just a sliver. This isn't all the equipment and the men and women by even a small margin. We have an incredible emergency management team and effort across this state, the best in America, and I will suggest to you the best in the world. We're going to continue to train. We're going to continue to be the best in the world, and I want to join with people all across this state again by saying thank you to men and women who run into harm's way while the rest of us are generally running away from that danger. You save lives, you save property. I was over in Bastrop last week talking to those firefighters over there. 5 or 6 of the families that lost homes, they were out saving other people's property and lives, and they were losing their own property. That's the kind of people you are. It is a humbling experience for me to be able to interact with men and women like yourself. You make me proud to be a Texan, and you make me proud to be on your team. Chief Kidd, let me let you have it back.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I'd also like to ask Dr. David Lakey, Commissioner of Health for Texas, to come and say a few words. Dr. Lakey.
Thank you, Chief Kidd. My name is David Lakey, the Commissioner of the Department of State Health Services. And Governor Perry, I want to thank you for your commitment to ensure that we have the best tools available to take care of Texans on the worst day of their lives. Many of you may not know, but Texas has more presidentially declared disasters than any other state. And because of that, we take this very seriously. And I do believe that we have become the best in the nation, and actually have become a proving ground for innovation, new tools, new strategies in order to protect Texans. Many of you may have known Jack Colley. Jack Colley taught me that public health is public safety and public safety is public health. So that we have to work hand in hand when these events occur, that there is one fight and we have to be one team and can't have the silos between the agencies. And I think that's what you see here today. All the agencies working together to make sure that we have a coordinated response to whatever type of event occurs. We learn from our experiences. We've had many of these disasters, and after each disaster, we get better. And many of the innovations that you see here came from those after actions, whether it's the tracking system so that we can follow individuals from when they get on the buses to when they go to a hospital to when they come back to shelters, whether it's the emergency medical task force with the strike teams that you see here or the mobile medical units. All those came out of direct experiences, and I think will drive us even further to become the model for the rest of the nation. So again, I want to thank Chief Kidd for the great work, the leadership that he has put in place for the state of Texas. And Governor Perry, again, thank you for making this a priority, that we take care of our vulnerable Texans on the worst day of their lives, that we do it better than no others at state. Thank you, sir.
Last year was a historic year for wildfires. Not hard to remember that, but I would ask the Director of the Texas Forest Service, Tom Boggs, to come say a few words as well for his partnership.
It'll be perfect. Thank you, Nim. I've said it every chance I get, especially since last year, that if all hell's going to break loose, send me to Texas, because we know how to do it, and we do it right, and we learn every time, just like it's been said. And all you see around you doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of leadership, and leadership because of Governor Perry and because of Nim Kidd. And so I appreciate you being here. And whatever happens, Texans are going to take care of Texans, and we stand ready. And you can see that today. So thank you very much.
few more notes, and then we'll open it up for question and answer. But as you know, Governor Perry did proclaim May 27th through June 2nd as Hurricane Preparedness Awareness Week. And again, to the working media and the press, please help us get that message out. A successful response is a three-legged stool. It has to be a first responder group with local emergency managers, dedicated people making good decisions. It has to be a media that gets that message to the public, and it has to be a public that will trust the media and trust the elected and first responders to do the right thing and take action. Any one of those three legs falls off, and we wind up somewhere we didn't want to be. So we've got to have the partnership, and we appreciate you being here. It's important that Texans plan and prepare for these devastating storms. But this doesn't stop on the coast. Our state is not immune from these disasters all across. As the crow flies, Motley, Ford, Cottle counties, they're 500 miles from Brownsville. But in 2010, they experienced some devastating storms from Alex. So it's not just the coastal communities we need to worry about. And no part of our state turns its back on Texans in need. You get up to Carthage, about 175 miles north of Beaumont, they've got the largest shelter in the state, mainly to take care of evacuees as they come through their town. It's Texans all over this state that work together, not just the state agencies, but as the governor said, preparedness is about being at the individual level ready to take care of yourself and your neighbors. Just in the past 5 months, these are some of the things that the state agencies have done to help make sure that we're ready. We've had a state operations center exercise, but not in the state operations center. Because at any given time, we need to make sure that we can stand up an event and respond to an event from any location. If you remember the Dallas tornadoes, we ran that event from the state's perspective out of the convention center in San Antonio, just another testament to the work of the men and women of the State Operations Center to be ready for anything that we're going to challenge. We've had 4 regional hurricane workshops, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and the Valley, attended by hundreds of local officials and first responders to make sure that we are one team, one fight, working together. The Department of Public Safety and TxDOT staged a full-scale exercise to contraflow I-37. Every exit, every entrance ramp had trooper and TxDOT out there to make sure that we could protect that vital corridor for evacuation in case we need to. So thank you all for the work that you did to do that. Over 30 more exercises, seminars, workshops, local jurisdictions, and all over 4,000 people sitting down to make sure that we're ready to take care of Texans in need. And to the mayors, county judges, and first responders, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Your efforts and dedication speak volumes about your commitment to public health and public safety. But folks, we can never rest. Today is the beginning of the 2010 hurricane season. But Alberto and Beryl, they've already been here and gone. Who knows when we'll see Chris, Debbie, or Ernesto? It's not just about today, but it's getting that message out and being ready year-round. The governor mentioned this, and the experts say it's going to be a slower season. I'm not sure what that means. I think it only takes one to make somebody have a really bad day. The last thing I want to leave you with is to thank you first responders for being here. Thank you for taking the time away from your families. The work that you do is important, but also take care of yourselves. Individual preparedness starts with us. It starts with our families, making sure that our own families have a plan. I need you to go home and make sure that you've done that. Make sure that you're taking care of yourselves first. And with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions.
There's been a great emphasis on preparedness over the past decade, say compared to 10 years ago. Could you name one or two strategies, procedures, or resources that you think are most impactful to better protecting Texans?
Talk about that yellow band on his arm. Hold your hand back up.
Everybody got one of these? Everybody got one? You know what they are? They're RFID wristbands. If you walk through a portal in there, you swipe your driver's license or some form of ID, and now you're into a system. And that's right, I've got all your names. I know who you are. I know where you live. Actually, it just took the name and some other information. But if you remember during Katrina and Rita, when I ran the the Operations Center in San Antonio, the way that we looked for Grandma and Aunt Jane was we had Post-it notes that family members would come and write and put on the board, I'm missing my grandmother, I can't find my grandfather, I don't know where my aunt or uncle is, I don't know where my kids are. Today across the state, and exercises have been done just recently to prove this, we're tracking where you are with that so your family members and your friends and loved ones can find you. We also know how to get you back to where you came from. So we put these things not only on people, but on pets and on durable medical equipment to keep them together. And the work that's done through that and that conglomeration of systems will help us keep track of people so that we don't lose our loved ones anymore and make sure the last known location of where they are and how we get them back. Huge benefit, huge use of technology. Great way to make sure that we don't lose our friends and loved ones anymore. Yes, sir.
Chief, in a lot of these exercises, what we learn is that radio communication is the most important thing. And we have so many different agencies, so many different cities with their own different systems. Are you confident that we can talk to everybody now, that we're all on the one system, that when the disaster happens, Hidalgo can talk to you, can talk to McAllen?
I would say we are light years ahead of where we were 10 years ago. I would say that we still need to do the personal. There's two parts of interoperability. One is the technical piece. So to answer your question, yes, we can still talk on radios to each other, and all of these state agencies out here will have common channels programmed in, whether it's UHF, VHF, 800, or satellite communications. But there's a cultural interoperability that we've still got to learn. Do I want to talk to you today? And during a disaster, we got to make sure that we don't overload the systems and the channels. Comms plans that we put out for every event to make sure that we have the right communications channels, the right names, the right contacts, have dramatically improved our capability. To say that every individual can talk to each other today, I don't want to go there yet. But to say that we've made light year improvements with common channels in all of our radios, I think we've done a remarkable job in doing that. And I think as you walk around and look at these state agencies when we're done, ask them to show you that equipment and how they can actually communicate together.
Governor, where are we in that debate with the C-130s? Where do we stand with that?
The Texas congressional delegation across the board have been very helpful in taking the debate to Congress and to the Air Force, and I think a very thoughtful way and a very powerful way to explain the importance of keeping those 130s in the Gulf Coast region in particular. And as I've said, that if the Air Force thought that those birds could better be suited in Mississippi or Louisiana, I wouldn't make that argument. But moving them to the Canadian coast is not in anyone's best interest when it comes to being able to respond quickly to the type of events. And I use Louisiana back in, I think it was Gustav was coming in. There had been a failure of ambulatory or ambulances coming into Louisiana to move their patients out of hospitals from New Orleans. And Governor Jindal called and said, hey, can you send your 130s to get these people out of harm's way, because we're fixing to close the airport down. And in 3 hours, the airport was going to be closed down. And at that particular point in time, those people would not have been able to be moved out of New Orleans. And having Katrina still on their minds, it was a very chaotic period. We were able to get in, move those patients out. As a matter of fact, we landed them back here at Austin Bergstrom Airport, and we were able to get them out of harm's way. You would not have been able to have done that if those aircraft had been on the Canadian coast. They're just, they're very capable aircraft, but they're not Mach speed aircraft. So,
You know what the timeline is for moving them out?
General, do you have a?
There's not. At this point in time, we're obviously looking for the support of the congressional delegation. They're doing an outstanding job on behalf of the Texas Air National Guard. The timeline is going to be the federal budget. It's going to be the president's budget and how Congress looks at that budget, debates that budget, and comes up with their conclusions on what's going to happen with the overall defense budget this year.
Great, thank you.